Following the Texas snowstorms that paralyzed the state and down their electrical system for days as gas lines froze, oil stopped, and even wind turbines froze over to all of that not being properly weatherized. Now, as a result of the state's nearly privatized and deregulated power industry, which puts profits and corner cutting over reliability and cost stability. So now there are reports of people, as a result, for this demand of power, getting massive energy bills. So now power supplier Griddy had told their 29,000 customers that they needed to stop using their services because they expected a price spike. And believe me, that price spike was ginormous. So now Texas resident Royce Pierce, for example, said that he owed about $7,000 for 2 days of electrical service. Jesus. A few days later, that bill grew to $10,434. Now, last year at the time, he paid about $330 per month. So now going from $330 to $10,000 would make your head explode. Holy shit. So obviously, people are blowing a fuse. In fact, here you had also Houston resident David Astreen, who had some rolling blackouts and then tried to manage his power usage. He works from home, taking care of a young child, ended up getting about a bill of $2,796.85. In all, the wholesale price of electricity, and those are just two examples, spiked more than 10,000%, leaving a lot of Texans with bills that range from 4 digits to one for more than $17,000. Holy shit. That's really, really, really bad. Now, mind you, this is for a couple of days of usage. And so the result, of course, is that it's even pissing off Republicans in the state of Texas. In fact, here's Representative or former Representative William Hurd. He's going to talk about the failures on Meet the Press.
100% this was preventable. This wasn't a problem with any individual fuel source. This was a problem of lack of leadership and lack of long-term planning. In 2011, there were hearings in the State House talking about ensuring that there was reliability. ERCOT and state leaders at the time said that the energy companies could self-regulate and make sure that happens. We can't have cheap prices and reliable energy at the same time. And we always talk about this was a black swan event. This was an event that doesn't happen often. The only thing I've learned in my time in government and the CIA is that the only thing about black swans is black swans actually happen, and we need to be prepared.
Confirmed CIA. But no, look, he's right. He points at, self-regulation. That was a big part of the problem, as well as Texas Republicans basically doing everything that they did to stay off the grid and avoid federal regulations, which include, of course, the weatherization of their power. And so, if there's something like this that happens, which it does once in a while, they're caught completely unprepared, and stuff like this happen. So it's weird. It's almost as if self-regulation never seems to work, because it usually ends up cutting corners for additional profit. And of course, look, you also had the situation where Texas's power grid is incredibly competitive. It's privatized. And so you have these companies that are like, how can we cut corners to still make a lot of profit and yet still, get these energy prices that are fairly low so we can get customers? I know, we'll just not weatherize our grid, and we'll not provide any services, and we'll be, subject to giant price spikes during this entire thing. And that's exactly what happened. Sure, it's nice, during times of, good times and all that. But then when something happens, we see the result. So now, back in May, okay. So let me start this, right? In addition to the insane payments, right, you also have power companies that have tried to shut people down for non-payment of the bills that people have racked up. Back in May, for example, Texas regulators banned companies from shutting off utilities due to lack of payment during the coronavirus. And now, thankfully, it's probably going to happen again because here you have Texas Governor Greg Abbott saying that a moratorium on shutoffs is necessary while the state legislature deals with the bills that people can't afford to pay. So this is good. This is Texas. Texas Republicans saying, hey, let's actually, not make people pay these gigantic bills because it will destroy them. So let's do a moratorium. All right. And so there's that. All right. So now there's more here. Here's what he says. Texans who would suffer through days of freezing cold without power should not be subjected to skyrocketing due to a spike in the energy market. This is something that is being fast-tracked that legislatures are working on as we speak at the moment in time right now. So now Greg Abbott should get a lot of shit for blaming this on wind turbines, but not on this. I think he's actually doing the right thing. This is the correct course of action. Now, of course, it's also a reaction to people being incredibly pissed off, but at least it's the right thing to do. Yes, it's a little bit late, but at least he's actually doing the thing that he's supposed to do. Nobody should be shut off or have to pay these massive bills due to these gigantic price spikes. But the thing that's going to be missing, and I want to make sure that I don't miss it in this conversation, is that this could have been avoided had Greg Abbott and Republicans in the state of Texas actually done the stuff to prevent this in the first place by doing regulation. I know the thing that they hate, the thing that they privatized their grid to avoid and separated it from the national grid. It turns out, hey, you actually need regulation. I know, it's weird. And a regulation to winterize, just in case something like this happens. Yes, of course, it's probably going to end up, having these companies eat higher prices or pass those prices off to the consumer. That sucks. But at the same time, they're there to prevent stuff like this from happening. So that's good. Okay. But I don't think Abbott is going to actually do the regulation to prevent something like this from happening again, and only is going to do the reaction to it. And so I don't see Republicans ultimately learning a lesson from this and actually doing any sort of fundamental change. But then again, maybe they will. Hopefully, we'll see. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.